Won't he do it? Yes, he will. What's going on, everybody? This is your boy, Dr. Will Rogers, a.k.a. Master Teacher 33, and today is Sunday, Sun, Helios, Day, Deity, December the 12th of 2021, and the time is 1:45 Central Time. As always, my brothers, as always, my beautiful sisters, we've got a powerful message for you today. I'm going to jump right in, really talking about the law of probabilities and how we actually use and have access to the law of probability, which allows us to be able to affect space, time as we know it. In other words, how do we align ourselves with the frequency wave of vibration that is the most possible? In other words, we go through life and we make choices and decisions we govern. So we just finished wrapping up module 1 of the 5 modules inside the People Development Center, which is governing. And governing is an extension of the laws of probability. Inside of these laws of probability, there are, basic rules that use addition, multiplication, and what is called complementary rules. So we're going to go through these 3 basic rules of probability so that way we can understand that, when we're talking about things that are possible or probable, that just simply means, okay, what is the possibility that this may happen? So you and I, we affect probable outcomes. That just simply means we live in a world of multiple possibilities. And the possibility, the outcome that you want to manifest is one of those possibilities. And since we can influence these possibilities, why not? I mean, I don't know about you, but if I have an option, and we do, to, let's say, generate, 20,000, 50,000, 80,000, 100,000, 150,000, 200,000, 300, 400, 500, there are different possibilities of the amount of income that you can produce. So there is a way by which we can, I'm going to use the word assist, maybe the word manipulate. How about the word influence? What about the word change? We can change our possibilities. So I've changed my probabilities. When I started out, I was making, just like everybody else, I don't know, get $20,000 a year. Then it went up to 30, then it went up to 50, then it went up to 60, 80, 100, 150, 200, 250, 300. And I'm on my way up to get to, the 3, at least for this current goal of mine, is 1K a day. So when I wake up every day, it's 1K a day, 1K a day. I don't say it, I don't talk about it, but in the back of my brain, I engage in probable, that the things that are going to be the most probable. So how the outcome makes me feel. So when I think about different probable outcomes, I align my mind with the probable outcome that makes me feel magnanimous. That's the reason why I purchase or I do shows, I write books, I do one-on-ones. I have the life management system. I have the people development system. Just went out and recently purchased, my dream car. Now I'm in the process of purchasing a dream home. So why am I, and how did these unfold? How did I go from homeless, sleeping in my car, to living my dream? Well, I followed the law, the road, the path of the things that were the most profitable and the most probable. Now, if you can, and I know you can, that's why you tuned in, and I like I said last night in the private show, I love you guys. Everybody that's tuning in today, I love you because you allow me to be me. You are my audience. You are my, vibrational brothers and sisters, because we have similar, attributes and characteristics. We have a specific way by which we consume thoughts, the way that we spend our day, there's a specific lifestyle. There's a way by which we all think that makes us a part of the same tribe. Regardless of our distance, regardless of where you live and regardless of where I live, we are all interconnected because we have a similar value system. And because of our similar values, it allows us to basically use the law to affect probable outcomes with our mind. And that's why today's message and all of these messages are so important, is because you taking time out of your day to, you could be doing a lot of other things, but you chose to tune in to this message. And so my intent, and the universe responds to a made-up mind. My intent is to assist you with understanding that it's like if you're driving on the freeway and there are multiple lanes, and as you're driving, you can change different lanes based upon the lane that you see, believe, know, based upon relevant facts. So you should be getting relevant facts as you're driving, and you see that if one lane is, let's say, there's an accident in the right lane, you're on a 4-lane highway. So if you're driving down a 4-lane highway and you are all the way inside of the right lane, but the right lane and the lane next to it is backed up, there's an accident in the right lane. The cops also have the next lane blocked off. So there's a 4-lane highway. 2 of the lanes are blocked. Now you could drive up and you could stop and you could just sit in the right lane. You get over into the next lane. You still be blocked. Or you can get to the 3rd lane, or best, if you got into the 4th lane all the way over, the probability, the possibility that you are going to continue moving faster than the people who choose to stay. Maybe like you're behind a big 18-wheeler and you can't see what's going on ahead, so you just stop behind the 18-wheeler and you just sit. I've done this. I've been in traffic and I've just stopped and I just sit. And I didn't change lanes. I didn't look around the vehicle. I couldn't see around the vehicle. And I was like, man, I wonder what's going on. Why is the traffic so backed up today? And then after I sit there for a while, I kind of negotiate my way around. And then when I get up there, I'm like, man, I'm so glad I changed lanes. Then there's been times where the whole freeway was shut down. I remember one time I got stuck because my gut told me to take an exit. I saw the cars. I remember it was on the I-10. I was coming from Houston, Texas, going back to San Antonio. There's a big freeway in Texas called the I-10 interstate. And both lanes was blocked up. They had construction. It was really late at night, like 2 in the morning, and the whole freeway was shut down. But there was no sign. Nobody said anything. There were people sitting on top of their cars. Now, I couldn't see it at the time. I just know that the traffic was blocked. And my gut told me exit, the last possible way to get out of the traffic. But I was like, I just kept going. And I remember sitting there for almost 2 hours when all I had to do was follow my gut, take the exit, and I would have made it home 2 hours earlier, or at least on time. And so what we're talking about now is that there are choices and decisions that you have made, that you are making, that are either taking you in the direction of your goal or taking you away from your goal. It's affecting negatively or positively the probable outcome, but you do that with your mind. So right now you're having thoughts. And we talked about this before when we've been, the last couple of shows that we've been doing, when we talked about, that, hey, last night we talked about how to govern for fruitfulness, how to govern in a manner or in a way that bring about results. We talked about, remember, the key of the one power. We talked about the series that I watched on Amazon entitled The Wheel of Time. So it goes, you spend your time according to your mind. We all do. And so your time here on earth, the way that you spend, which is spin, S-P-E-N-D. Remember we talked about the show spending, is spinning. So you spend all of your time. And the way that you spend it is according to your mind. So what is it in your mind that affects your time? Something in your mind affects time. So mind and time are brothers and sisters, if you want to use that word. They're kissing cousins. Because mind affects time. Mind influences time. And so once we understand, okay, I gotta use my mind in a certain frequency, wave, or vibration, because mind, it has a positive or negative effect on time. And this sounds like, I want to use the word, basic, cliche, elementary, but this is huge because we live in a world of multi-dimensionality. You exist on multiple levels. The you that is manifesting today is based upon the thoughts that you are maintaining in your brain. So if you want to exist on another dimension, then all you got to do is change your mental position. And it's really that simple, and it's that difficult. So if you ask yourself, if you really want, that's the key. If you really want to exist on another dimension, not just another frequency, another wave, or another vibration. If you really want to exist on another dimension, then you have to change your mental position. You have to change the way that you think. And the way that you change the way that you think is, for me, is based upon how I align my mind with my God-given design. So thinking must be based upon what we talked about before when we did the show on thinking versus knowing. So I don't think about nothing that I don't know, unless I am in a space where I want to grow. What that simply means, it's like the new metaverse stuff and all this NFT stuff. So thinking about that stuff is outside of things that I know. Why? Because all future events are possible, and you affect what is possible by your brain. So to do so, what you have to do is you have to use what I call focus, discipline, and order, but it must be on the desired outcome. Remember, you must focus on your desire fulfilled. And that's inside the Gospel of Thomas. You guys know I talk about that on almost every show, because you must be outcome driven. Even in sales and marketing, at the higher level, when you get into sales, you get into marketing, when you get into business, when you really break down business, people don't, like right now, you guys are not really interested in, what I'm doing. You're tuning in today because you're interested in improving what you're doing. So if I just get on this show and just talk about me, it's not going to benefit you. But if I get on this show and I talk about you and I talk about your desired outcome. So if I were to ask Sister Carolina, what is your desired outcome? And then if I were to ask Sister Carolina, I would say, Sister Carolina, how would you feel if you achieved your desired outcome? And so whatever that answer is, that's my goal. My goal is to assist Sister Carolina with her desired outcome, not my products, my services, and my information. So I'm selling, right? And selling is the same thing as what we call servicing. And so how do we do that? Well, for me, I got to be very cautious of not just promoting my products and services, but I got to really focus on being aware of your desired outcome. So when I'm teaching and talking, I'm thinking about, okay, what is it that Sister Diane is accomplishing? What is her desired outcome? And if I can assist Sister Diane in achieving her desired outcome, Sister Diane feels, and then I feel, we both feel magnanimous. So every day when I do shows, I remember how I felt when I was separated from my desired outcome. So mentally, my brain is in my desire fulfilled. That's how you and I affect mass and matter. That's how you change dimensions. Because when your brain is immersed inside of your desires fulfilled, wherever they are, it doesn't matter what they are. If your brain is immersed inside of your desires fulfilled. Now, you guys know with the word desire, it's a double-edged sword. And if you want to fine-tune, it's like fine-tuning your radio. You can hear it, right? Like if you're on a radio dial, you know how sometimes when you're driving and you're leaving the radio station area and the radio station gets a little fuzzy, and you're on, the radio station is 92.5. You're on 92.5 inside the city, it's really clear. Then you leave in the city, then 92.5, it gets a little fuzzy, a little weak. But if you adjust and you go to 92.6, you can pick up a station on 92.3. So it's really 92.5, but you have to adjust it. That's design. And so what I've learned is that desires are great, but design is better. I always start off with desire, and then I ask myself and I look at, does my desire match my design? Remember, I'm fine-tuning. I'm using the law of probability. I'm using the law of possibilities. So probability and possibility. There's a lot of possibilities in your life right now. A lot of things that could possibly happen. Could lead to the law of possession. So when we look at the law of possibilities, everything is possible because everything exists. So based upon the law of probability, everything is possible because everything exists. It just exists on different dimensions. So I'm not trying to be everything. I have my lane based upon my desire. Now, before it used to be based upon my desires, but I found out that my desires changed a lot, but my design does not. So by changing my focus from desire to design, it allowed me to shine. Now, everybody else may be a little bit different, but in my experience, what I found is that in order for you to get the feeling, because that's what, at the end of the day, I'm going to be honest with you. At the end of the day, the difference between, if you're making, depending on, let's talk money, or let's talk health. At the end of the day, I want to feel healthy. Now, there are different degrees of that definition of the word health. So for me, I want to be able to walk up a flight of stairs with no pain. I want to be able to exercise. I want to be able to jog down the street. I want to be able to play with my grandkids. I want to be able to breathe with no obstructions in my lungs. I want every organ in my body. I desire that every organ in my body functions according to its purpose. So when I think about health, I always say, like, money flows to me easily and effortlessly from multiple dimensions and multiple directions. So that is always my intent. And so with that in mind, that allows me to shine because that's in line with my desire. So that affects the law of possibilities. And so that's why I don't buy. I immediately question when something comes out that says, take, for example, the death jab. But because I've set my intent way before the death jab came out, I set my intent. My intent is that every organ in my body functions according to its purpose. So why do I need assistance with my immune system, with my endocrine system, if it's functioning according to its purpose? The purpose of the immune system is to keep the body healthy. So therefore, do I need any assistance with that? Absolutely not. And so before that option came available, it's not a part of my space-time continuum. So there are certain things that are not a part of my space-time continuum. That just simply means that Even though it is an option for other people, it's not an option for me. And it's okay because my design and my desires are different, and so are yours. So your job is to understand what you value and what's relevant and what's pertinent for your design and your desire. And once you do that, bam, that's how you affect reality. In other words, all future events are actually past tense. When you immerse your brain inside of your design, that's how you shine. That just simply means all your mental energy, all of your thoughts are based upon understanding the principle of reality, which simply means that our mentality determines our reality. So my reality and your reality is being altered to match your most predominant thought. Let me say it again. Your reality right now has been altered to match your most predominant thought. That's the whole point of today's message. So let me say that again. Your reality is being altered by you. So you are affecting your reality. And that is huge. You mean to tell me that I actually have an ability to affect the outcome of my reality? So when I wake up in the morning, Sister Diane had posted a video where she was out doing her morning walk, and the thoughts that Sister Diane was having when she was out doing her morning walk affects her reality. It's changing her reality right now as we are sitting here listening to today's message. Her reality is being affected by yesterday's thought. That's how powerful we are. And again, that thought that is maintained affects the brain. When it affects the brain, it affects your reality. And once it affects your reality, it changes the wheel of time. That's how powerful you are. So you do govern, and you do have effect because you spend your time according to your mind. Mind and time. Mind affects time. So you have the ability to manipulate, influence, and change your space-time continuum, or what is called space-time reality. That's huge because remember, we have to think about how this works. And as we stated earlier, it works because you are the causality. So when you immerse your brain in your desire fulfilled, so it's one thing to have a desire, but are your most predominant thoughts inside of your desires or your design fulfilled? So the brain must be immersed in your desire or your design fulfilled. It's one thing for you to think about the future. But as we talked about earlier, you got to think and feel what? How does the future outcome make me feel today? Man, that's huge. My whole goal is to get you to think about your end result, not the present reality. Because the present reality is changed by your mentality. The present reality is changed by your mentality. So the present reality is changed by your mentality. That just simply means that if we were to say magic, what is magic? That's magic. Magic is bending probabilities by subtle coincidences that affect your environment with your mentality. So your mind affects and changes reality. It bends, it molds. It has a powerful influence. How? By simply concentrating, if you want to use that term, on the end result. So most of the time, we're not focusing on the end game. We're focusing on something else. Now, when I say focus on the end game, what do I mean? Do I just sit there and just focus on just the end game? I focus on the things that take me to the end game. So what I mean by focusing on the end game is that you just don't go home and just sit at home and just think about $1 million. No, you go home and you think about who am I being and what am I doing that's generating $1 million. And when you think like that, the brain brings that, and that's how you affect space-time. How do you spend? How do you spend? S-P-E-N-D. How do you spend? S-P-I-N. Your time. So your mind affects how I spend my time. So I don't spend my time doing, worthless activities and blah, blah, blah. Why? Because that's not the end game. So if you want to exist on another dimension, all you do, again, is notice, okay, how am I spending my time? Because that changes the law of possibility, which is the law of probability. So something is probably going to happen if your brain is immersed in your design, because you are affecting the probable outcome with your mind. All possible outcomes already exist. That was the hardest thing for me to wrap my brain around when I got into quantum physics and metaphysics, because I was like, come on, man, how does all possible probabilities already exist? And then when I got into watching movies and seeing how nothing not really is created, it's just uncovered or unveiled. The book of Revelations is called the book of Revelations. Revelation means the unveiling. So everything in life is being unveiled. Even in the book of Revelations, when it talks about, everybody talks about like the 4 horsemen, the 7 seals that's on the scroll when you look at the book of Revelation. So right now we are in the end times. But the end times is the new times, because that just simply means that we are out of the age of Pisces and we're going into the age of Aquarius. So this is the pathway to manifestation. This is how you turn water into wine. This is the metaphysics of mathematics. This is how you operate inside of your destiny, by going and conquering the 4 horsemen. The 4, it was, let's see, what was it? War, famine, pestilence, and death, if I remember correctly. And remember that each one of the horse, there was a white horse, a red horse, a black horse, and a pale horse. But if you really read that scripture, the pale horse was really a green horse. In Revelation 6:8, nobody talks about that. I'm gonna have to break that down, because everybody talks about the pale horse, but it was pale green or light green. Because each one of the horses, again, represents a different dimension. And each one brings a certain event. Well, it's the same thing that you and I are in right now. Right now, today, you are affecting the probable event that manifested or manifesting, and you're doing so with your mind. And so you only need to be aware of how your mental energy is being used. What does that mean? That just simply means that every day you wake up, when it comes to your awareness, because you ain't got to sit around and just think about this every day. The brain will bring it to your awareness because you set your intention. Now remember, set your attention according to your design, because that's what does that mean? That means that you don't have to use focus, discipline, and order. What does that mean? That means that I am programmed to brush my teeth. I never think about brushing my teeth until this morning and or at night before I go to bed. I floss usually after I eat. I never think about it though. Why come? How come? Because I'm programmed. Because I thought about it in the past so much that now it's part of my automatic nervous system, my ANS. So I need you to do the same thing about your design, aka your desires. So I now have created states, supreme states of consciousness. I use my gamma brain wave manifestation. So now I have what some people call destiny or lifestyle. I call that design. And so now everything that I do is according to my design. That's why I shine. I know when I'm not operating in line with my design, because I don't feel magnanimous. So your ability, magic, if I had to define magic is simply using your mind to bend reality. By bending reality, what I simply mean is that we alter what's possible with our mind. We shift into different dimensions because every thought is a dimension. There is a dimension called poverty. There's another dimension called wealth. The difference between living in the dimension of poverty and living in the dimension of wealth is a disposition. It's a mindset. Now, let me make sure you understand, because this is huge. Because when I was in poverty, all I thought about was being where I am right now. So if you really understand what I'm saying, is that I've proven already that this works. That just simply means I just immersed my mind in my desires fulfilled. I had a desire. My desire was to be able to establish life management system. My desire was for me to be able to find out my purpose. My number one desire in life was, why am I here? And more importantly, what do I do while I'm here? And when I set out to do that, I drew that to me. So I am able, and so are you are able to alter your natural path of action by using the rules of the game. And life is a game. As much as I don't like the fact that life is a game, it is a game. But many of us, we don't understand. We don't play life. We don't live life like it's a game. Some people will say that, man, life is not a game, my brother. You don't understand. But when I say game, I just simply means that in life, just like in any game, right now there's a bunch of football games on. Later on, there may be basketball games. There may be soccer games. The reason that there are so many games is because everything in your life and my life operate according to a set of rules and a set of principles. Now, if whether or not you are aware of these rules and these principles, these are agreements of understanding in order for you to complete and or to compete. So if you do not understand these rules of engagement, you cannot compete with me. You cannot complete. So the rules of engagement establishes what is possible and what's not possible. And on this dimension, the rules of engagement are the law of probability with its math, music, and language, which simply means that on this frequency, everything is controlled. Everything either appears or disappears based upon language. So if you use the wrong language, the wrong thing is going to appear or disappear. So I'm going to ask you the question again. You are in a state right now. This is the metaphysics of the metaverse. This is why the dominant culture is now coming up with the metaverse. Because the metaverse is basically the omniverse, which is another word for computer coding. And so now, since we don't understand that language, mental thought, so computer coding, spiritual coding is mental thought, or what I call thinking, which should be replaced by knowing. So spiritual coding is based upon knowing. One more time. Spiritual coding is based upon knowing. Now let's make sure that everybody can wrap their brain around this statement, because it's extremely important. Because when you think about how the world manifests, and you think about like, okay, you mean to tell me that if I have a thought, that thought molds what you and I call reality. Absolutely, because the Bible says it, and all we're going to do is go to the book of Hebrews. And we can see, and also in the book of Colossians, and we say that through him all things are made. Without him, nothing that was made was made. And when we understand that, through him or in him, depending on how you want to word it, because in the beginning was what? The Word. Now, I didn't write or set the rules of the game. They're like, I play football, so I make the rules of football. No, I did not. I just played. This is a game, man. You're here, and if you don't understand the rules of the game, you're going to get smoked, or you ain't going to have fun playing the game. When I played football, I loved it. Why? Because I was a coach on the field. I understood third and long versus third and short. I understood the width of the field. I knew that there was 100 yards. I knew that I had to be faster or just as fast as everybody, not in a mile, because the field ain't no mile long. I know the average play was 3 to 4 seconds. That means I got to be better than you for 3 seconds. So no, I wasn't trying to be the biggest, the fastest, strongest. I just wanted to be the smartest. How do you be the smartest? By understanding the rules. And so my problem is most people don't understand the rules. And the rules are simple. In the beginning was the Word. The Word was with God, and the Word was God. He was with God in the beginning. He, she, it, whatever you want to talk about it. Through him, all things were made. Who's him? The Word. And without him, who's him? The Word. Nothing that was made was made. So you can't make shiznits if you do not understand the law of possibilities and the law of probabilities, which is the Word. So all of us need to understand the Word, because in him was life. And that life was the light of men. John 1:3. So I got the life, I got the light, and I got the love, because I understand the Word, because I'm managing it. That's why I got the Life Management Center. So I can teach you how to manage life. If you manage life, you can manage life. If you manage life, you can manage light. If you manage light, you can manage love. So the light shines in the darkness, and the darkness cannot overcome it. So if you want to be successful, you got to understand life. You got to understand light. You got to understand love, because God is love. He didn't create it. He is it. So I can change by using the law of probabilities. So there is a strong possibility and probability. That strong possibility and probability is based upon over and understanding the most important thing on the planet. It is possible. What's possible? Everything. Okay, what's everything? Everything is that your brain and my brain thinks. But what does your brain know? As we said already in the show that we did on thinking versus knowing, don't tell me what you think. Talk to me about what you know. You see, that controls how you grow. So expand what you know. That's why I'm always expanding my knowledge base. So I'm always expanding my possibility base. These are the rules of possibility. This is the rules of probability. There's a good possibility. There's a good probability that certain frequencies, certain waves, certain verbs, and certain vibes are going to manifest and not going to manifest. Your job and my job is to oscillate and to open our consciousness by operating in extraordinary agreeableness. You have to remove all of the obstructions and all of the restrictions that you have on your knowing. You got to expand what you know. That's how you grow. Not what you think. You must expand what you know. Because what you know are the rules that provide an agreement of knowing or understanding in order for you to complete or compete. So rules, principles, processes, procedures that come from purpose or purpose define what is allowed and what is not allowed to occur in your reality. You determine that though. Why? Because if you don't know nothing, bam, you cannot grow nothing. Everything is based upon what you know. So I want to ask you again, what do you know? Me, I know everything about me. I don't know shit. I don't want to learn nothing else if it ain't got shit to do with me. And then I take what has to do with me, and then I use that to affect your desired outcome. And I say to myself, self, how can I assist Sister Addie with her desired outcome? And I want to make sure that everybody on the call has set in their brain a desired outcome that makes them feel love, joy, peace, gentleness, meekness, self-control. In other words, I don't want you to set a desired outcome based upon something that does not make you feel magnanimous. Because the dominant culture tells you, for example, if I'm a black man from Podunk, Texas, I was raised to say that, hey, I could not be where I am at today. They were told me, man, shit, bro, go get a job working in a fast food restaurant or somewhere, because that's all you can be. And I brought it for a long time, Brother Joseph. I limited my own success. And so I had to extend or expand what I know so that I could grow. Excuse me. And the way that I did that, though, I did that by expanding my consciousness and my awareness. And how did I do that? By getting around other people that was like-minded. That's what this group is about. That's what everybody is listening to on this call. We're all like-minded. You are here today because, like me, you believe that there's greatness inside of you. You are here listening to this call right now because you know that you have unlimited possibilities. You're listening to me today because deep, deep down inside of you, there's something that is almost forcing you to do things. There is a specific, authentic vibration of love that makes you unique and eternal. You know you have value. You know you have worth. I don't care what your situation is. Let's say if you're single, you know you are marriage material. If you are making $12 an hour, you know you're worth more than $12 an hour. You know. If you are unhealthy, you know you can be healthy. So no matter what your reality is right now, there's something inside of you that says you know you can do better or be better. Whether you even want it or not, there is an internal knowledge. That's consciousness. Consciousness is a cosmic, theological, biological construct. This consciousness is connected to the higher self. So your higher self is looking down at the lower self because the lower self is in reality. And in reality, you are where you are right now, and I'm where I am right now. But I'm higher. My higher self is up there with Source, and my higher self is saying, come on, bro. Come on up, jump. My higher self is saying, ascend, go up, vibrate higher, vibrate. My higher self. Now, my lower self is in what is called reality. And my lower self is saying, hey, man, you're doing the best you can. Hey, things might get better. Be happy for where you are, blah, 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 blah. But my higher self is like, don't settle. My higher self is telling me, hey, keep vibrating. Keep expanding your gnosis and your knowledge. And when you do that, my brothers and sisters, what happens is, bam, you now get into a space of openness. And openness is what is called oneness. Openness and oneness are the same. That's what the Bible calls aletheia, which is what we call objectivity, which is just the ability to what? Consider. That's it. So openness means that there is an internal knowledge I want to consider. Now, I got all of the external, but there's something internal. And so openness is just simply means that I want to go to the inner verse instead of the outer verse. And I'm going to establish an agreement with my internal disposition. That's openness. That is how you affect. So affecting probable outcomes with your mind is how you shine. You can alter what's possible and what's probable with your mind. And the way that you do that is that when you start to really, really know, bam, that's when you grow. So what do you know? Do you know a specific fact? Absolutely not. You just know that what you know, you know. You can't even explain what you know. Because what you know is inside the Ashik records. It's inside of your DNA. And it's lying dormant. You just know. That's what intuition is. Intuition is knowing shit without studying it. That's what it means. Intuition. If you are intuitive, especially if you are an 11-2, you know stuff you cannot explain. And it scares you. It scares everybody else too. That's why they look at you kind of strange. They think you kind of spacey. They're a little afraid of you because you got witch tendencies. If you was back in the old days, especially if you was female, they'd probably have you, and God forbid you single, you ain't got no man to kind of cover and protect. Then that's how you end up in that whole Salem witch hunt crap. And so it's very, very important, brothers and sisters, that we over and understand that you know things without studying. That's what is probable or possible. And once you wrap your brain around that, that's how you alter the universe. You see, anything is possible. Now, it doesn't mean that we just go out and just do anything. What that means is that you have a life path. You have a natural path of action that allows you to win in the game of life. Your job is to align your mind with the most possible or probable design. That's called a miracle. So every miracle that happens is because you've aligned your mind with your design. So it doesn't take no mental effort. It doesn't take no spiritual effort. You don't need no focus, no discipline, no order from the perspective of you've already done focus, discipline, and order because that's Hebrews 6:1. That's the basic teachings. So you got the basics down already. So you already know the basics. So all you want to do is that you want to keep in mind the reason for the shine. So by keeping in mind the reason for the shine, you remove all wishful thinking. You're not walking around hoping, wishing, and pondering. Because what are you doing? You're in a state now where brushing your teeth is automatic. You don't need a life coach. You don't need nobody to call you at 7 a.m. in the morning and ask you, did you brush your teeth today? Why not? Because you've established that in your mind. You understand the benefits and the value of brushing your teeth. So that means it's part of the automatic nervous system. It's automatic. You automatically brush your teeth. How come? It's beneficial. But more important, what is it beneficial? It makes you feel. If I could leave you with the goose that lays the golden egg. The goose that lays the golden egg is how you feel. Now, hopefully you don't have to be like me. So there were certain things that I learned by experiencing pain. Like I'm cautious and aware of flossing after every meal, brushing my teeth in the morning and at night. My dental hygiene is a lot more valuable. After my last visit to the dentist, which I talked to you guys, I had it was originally a root canal that was gone bad because they never finished it, and it just left this big crater in my molars from my military days. And just over the years, it has progressively gotten worse. To the fact that when I went to the dentist, the guy was like, I don't know how you've been living like this. Because basically, there is from your mouth, everything that you eat goes directly into. You actually could have, if that had got infected, it went right into your nervous system. Because that nerve that's connected to that tooth goes directly into the lymph nodes. You could have suffered or been in some serious medical, because if that infection had got into your lymph nodes, you'd be a dead man. And I had been living with this for like 10 years. I just didn't chew on that side. So now I have an awareness. I cannot put it into the English language. I do not eat certain things that I was informed of by the dentist that leads more or brings about tooth decay. I love trail mix. Since that day to now, I haven't eaten any trail mix because I didn't know that certain combinations, which is why they sell trail mix. I didn't know that you can't mix certain nuts together until my last appointment. Been on this plant for a long time before I found that out. And I did some research on it, and sure enough, if you mix certain nuts, vegetables together, not vegetables, but raisins, or the other thing I used to eat all the time, the cranberries, inside of my trail mix. Bam! It caused severe tooth decay. So with that pain that I feel, I know. Now other people, they have not felt that pain. So they don't know what I know. So they won't experience my glow. They won't experience my growth. That's somebody walking around still eating what I ate for 20 years. I will go to the health food store and I'll buy trail mix. And it came with different combinations of nuts. And I would always add raisins. It could be, it was almonds, cashews, and, all of the different nuts that come into now, if you do the research on it like I did, you'll see that, you might want to do that. But they don't tell you that when they sell it to you. Just like anything. So I wrote a whole book called Food Combining, based upon that knowledge. So it's not what you eat, it's the combinations. So as I found out, the standard American diet is SAD. S-A-D. Standard American diet makes you sad. That's the point. That's why we eat burgers, and that's why we eat everything that we eat. It's the standard American diet. Now, some people don't know that. They haven't experienced the pain yet. So when I was in law enforcement, and we studied Aikido because wrist locks and joint locks equals pain. If I take your elbow and I bend it in a way it's not designed to go, guess what happens to you? You're gonna administer compliance because the knee is a joint that's designed to go up and back, up and back. The knee is not designed to go left and right. I got $100 grand if you can bend your knee to the left and to the right. The knee is like a door. It swings forward and backwards. So MMA and all of the great fighters, they know that. They like the wrist. They like your fingers. If I take your hand and I grab your two fingers, the fingers can go down and then go up only to the level of the hand. Your hand cannot go backwards. Your fingers on your hand can't go backwards and touch the top of your forearm. Your wrist can't go backwards. It can only go up to about a 90 degrees angle. It cannot go 180. If you do, you're going to snap it. So if you engage if you get into a confrontation, I don't care how hard you hit somebody, do wrist locks, do pain, do Aikido. What happens? You get compliance. It's pain equals compliance. Now, that's the rules of the game. Now, Sister Diane, I didn't write the rules. I just learned them. Those rules saved my life when I was a cop. Because when I got into a confrontation, that's the first thing I do. Grab your wrist, or your elbow, or your fingers. Or if we're on the ground, I'm going to grab your knee. And I'm going to punch you in the head. I ain't going to punch you in the gut. I'm going to take your arm and bend it in the direction that it's not, and you're going to comply or it's going to break. That's his life. You comply or you're going to be broke. So people who are broke, they are just unknowingly violating universal spiritual laws. So the goose that lays the golden egg is to understand the rules of the game. And the rules of the game is, as a man thinketh, the most predominant thought, moles, mass, and matter. That's the rules of the game. I did not write the rules of the game. I just spent a lot of years breaking them. And I found out that you spend your time according to your mind. Mind and time are the same thing. So you bring about what you think about. But it's not just what you think about. It should be you bring about what you know about. Because what you think, that's just Groundhog's Day. Because you can spend every day, all day, in the paralysis of analysis. Anybody heard that before? If you are a 7, you know exactly what I'm talking about. I know no life path number 7s that are not in the paralysis of analysis. They're just thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking and thinking. They're never implementing. They're always analyzing. And so they find themselves stuck in Groundhog's Day. The rules of the game is not thinking. The rules of the game is implementing knowing. The rules of the game is that you're already implementing what you know. That's why it's part of your ANS, the automatic nervous system. So I just chose to put things inside of my automatic nervous system that makes wealth, health, wisdom, and good relationships automatic. That's all I did. So all I did was made wealth a part of my ANS. And so that's what I teach. I teach everybody else to make the things that they would like to manifest a part of the automatic or the autonomic nervous system. So that way, just like breathing, just like digesting, just like your heart's beating, all of these things that happen automatically, just like when you wake up in the morning and you automatically go brush your teeth, because it's a part of the unconscious function that regulates your life. So if you could put success into the automatic nervous system, it becomes automatic in your life. It becomes a part of the ANS. And the principles of success is the end result fulfilled. You make that a part of your automatic nervous system, you will automatically be successful. How do you do that? You simply do that by immersing your brain in your desire fulfilled regardless of reality. How do you do that? Well, what is your desired outcome? My desired outcome, for example, is 1K a day. So every day I ask myself, how does it feel? Because I'm pretty much already there. I ask myself, how does it feel? Well, since I'm here, I know how it feels. So this feeling, I want to maintain it. So in the morning I wake up and I tell myself, do you remember what you did yesterday to get the feeling that you have right now? Like, oh yeah, I remember. I did shows. I did one-on-ones. I wrote books. I got new clients. I take care of existing clients. I post stuff on Facebook every day, on social media every day. So everything that I've been doing, now what did I do before I got here? Well, when I was homeless, I connected with people who was here where I'm at. And you guys remember I talked about the trip that I made to California. And I hung out with people who were at where I wanted to be. And I saw how they felt, how they lived, what they did every day. And I started doing that. I started implementing. I found someone who's already at and who already has the feeling. And so when I went to California, we went on the speedboat. Man, I like the way it feels. We drove around Newport Beach. We drove around Oxnard. We drove around Orange County. I saw houses built into sides of mountains that looked like freaking houses that take up a whole city block. It was one house. I saw houses that on the street level, it was just one floor. And then it had 3 floors underneath in the ground. And it had an orchard in the back. The backyard was a freaking orchard. And they had their own wine cellar. And this was just one house that came back to my house here in Texas. And my house could fit into that house 4 times. You ever been through a 10 bedroom, 10 bath, 10,000 square foot home? The shit's crazy. So I saw people living at a standard. And I saw how they was laughing and joking. Had private planes, helicopters. And I liked the way I felt. So I brought that feeling back to Texas. And now I got that feeling today. So life is about feeling. Feel the end result fulfilled. The enemy has to make you feel bad. That's the game. I do not allow myself to feel the shit that other people feel. Because I know the game. Rich people don't feel what poor people feel. They don't have the experience. Could you imagine? Like, let's be for real. What if you got more money than you can spend in your entire lifetime? How do you think Bill Gates feels? How do you think Mark Cuban feels? How do you think Magic Johnson feels? How do you think any of these guys who have, $30 million in the bank, the interest of $30 million, like a month, every month, interest of $30 million is probably about, at least $20,000, $30,000. So that's basically, can you live off $20,000 a month? $30,000 a month? Most people can. That means you could never you don't have to spend the principal. What if you put it into some kind of a high yield, money market account, or do something that's where your interest rate is way higher than like 2 or 3%? You know how much money you're making just off of interest? So what does it feel to know that you can never really be broke unless you just really do stupid or the whole economy fails? So whatever that feeling is, that's what you got to get to. So that's where I'm at. But I have that feeling not because of money in the bank. I have that feeling because of knowledge in my head. See, when you get to this point, that's how you change. That's how you mold what is called probabilities. So affecting probable outcomes with your mind is what some people call magic. See, whenever you use magic to help achieve your design and the design of others, the universe decides that the details of how to obtain it and how to manage it and how to keep it are continually made available to you. Let me close with the smoking gun once again. Since the universe says it is done unto you as you believe. So the universe says give and it shall be given. Since the universe says to the degree that you give, that same degree is going to be measured back. So you can alter probabilities with your mind. You can shift the space-time continuum. You can change reality with your mentality. Simply by establishing the field. Because the field is what you feel. So the field, F-E-I-L-D, is what you feel, F-E-E-L. You create the field, and the field creates what is real. So all you got to do is do what? Maintain your feelings. That's why everything in life is designed to do what? Make you feel fear, doubt, and everything. You cannot watch the news and not feel. I watch some of these shows, and what do? It makes you feel sorry for somebody. So when you feel sorry for them, you draw sorry into your life. That's why they always show movies and shows to tug on your emotional cords. Because I got to get you into an emotional state. So that way you can draw emotional upheaval into your own life. So every movie is designed to make you feel. How come there's no movies out to make you feel magnanimous? So what do you got to do? You got to play your own movie in your head. That's the rule of the game. Of life, anyway. See, rules are actually contracts and agreements. And I'm getting ahead of myself just a little bit because that's module 2. This is where I'm getting this from. So a rule is a governor. Remember we talked about module 1? We finished that last night. We broke down governor. So rules govern. There is no government if there are no rules. There are no rules, there is no control. There is no control, there is no management. There is no management, there is no leaders. That's why we're doing it in reverse. That's why we did government first. If you're not a member of the People Development Center, you will not be able to establish heaven in your brain. So that way, wealth, health, wisdom, relationships, the shit's automatic. Like brushing your teeth, like taking a shower. You don't need no class, no reverend, no doctor, no bishop. You ain't gonna call nobody to get no motivational speech, no motivational speech to take a shower. You know if you're funky, you take a shower. You ain't got to call your mama, hey mom, you think I should take a shower today? Anybody? I don't know nobody. Do you? Nobody got to call you when you're hungry to go to the refrigerator and eat. So how do you know what to do when your stomach starts growling? So in the morning when you wake up now, what you eat, okay, that's another study for another time. But the fact that you do engage in putting food into your mouth is because that's something that you've established. So my brothers and my sisters, there is agreements that's made with your understanding that's called knowledge. Those agreements that you've signed a contract with, that establishes how you compete, which establishes how you complete. So you are not able to complete if you do not compete. And it is this ability for you to be able to complete based upon how you compete, which is based upon what you know, which is based upon what you have agreed. So just like in life, it's the same thing as in sports. When I played football, there were rules. You got a penalty every time you violated those rules. So your job is do not violate the rules. And the most important rule in life is, as a man feels, so is he. Because thinking creates the feelings, so thinking is just breaking it down, but at the end of the day, it's really not thinking, it's feeling. Because the feeling, that creates the emotions. The emotions determines the actions. The actions determine the end result. At the end of the day, everybody on this call, I'm only concerned with one thing. I want to help you manifest your end game. That's it. 2022, my goal, my purpose, my reason for existing in your life is to help you fulfill, is to help you live your desires fulfilled, to help you immerse your brain inside of your desires fulfilled. I want to make sure that your desires are fulfilled. So that's what we're about in 2022. Brothers and sisters, it's been an honor, privilege to be able to break bread with you. I love you. I appreciate you. I thank Source Code for you. We're going to see you at the top. God bless.